So we've got a problem. This weekend, we're both moving house. But before any rumours start, not into the same house. But anyway, the solution to this problem comes in the form of this Volkswagen Caddy Cargo, which starts from around $46,000 drive away in New South Wales. And the question is, will it be enough to help us both move house?
Look, I've got a big fridge, a big washing machine, and plenty of other stuff to cram into this thing. I hope it all works, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Big stuff, heavy stuff. There's a lot of stuff to move. But anyway, that's what we're going to find out in this coming weekend when we actually have to move. So right now, let's take a look at what you actually get for around $46,000 with this Volkswagen Caddy Cargo. On the design front, things are quite basic, and I mean, you'd expect that because this is the most basic version of the Caddy that you can buy in Australia. You've got black plastic bumpers at the front and the rear, and it also rides on 16-inch steel wheels with hubcaps. And that's interesting because if you move up the range to the Crewman or the Maxi, you go to 17-inch alloy wheels. So this is the only option if you want cool steel wheels. And along the same lines, this Cargo has one sliding door over on that side of the van, whereas going up in the range to those aforementioned models, you'll get a sliding door on each side.
In terms of paintwork, white and orange are some of the colours that are free of charge for the Volkswagen Caddy. However, if you're looking for something a little bit more extravagant, you'll have to pay extra. So, inside the Volkswagen Caddy Cargo, look, it is a pretty basic place to sit in, and that's because a lot of these materials are very rough, plastic, basic materials. But look, it's fine for what it is. It's a commercial van. It's not a luxury Caddy California. It is quite basic, but that is absolutely fine. Now, one good thing about the interior is that there's plenty of storage. All through these bins here, there's plenty of places to put your phone, wallet, keys, whatever you need to do. And of course, up here as well, there's plenty of storage space. So those are my thoughts about the interior, but I want to see what Andy thinks about the Caddy Cargo inside.
So yeah, I agree with Zach. It's very basic in here, but I'm not mad about it because that's kind of the way these industrial vehicles are meant to be. On the tech front, it's quite impressively pointed because you've got an 8.25-inch infotainment screen right here that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. If you want these to be wireless, you're going to have to pay extra, but still impressive for a car like this. It also gets wireless phone charging down here, and although there's an analog gauge cluster behind the steering wheel, there's a digital panel in the middle which gives you a readout on things like average speed, fuel economy and stuff, so it's quite good. In terms of the interior, there's only one pet peeve, and it's the same with most Volkswagen products. It's the use of these haptic touch panels. In here, it's not bad because there's only actually two buttons. There's a safety assist and the climate control, but the climate control, once you press that button, it goes into the infotainment screen which you can use, which is good. And a saving grace is the fact that this multi-function steering wheel hasn't got those questionable panels that you'll find on the Golf and Tiguan, etc. It's retained good old-fashioned buttons. As for cabin visibility, it's pretty dismal if I'm honest. Obviously you can see out the front. The sides are okay, but behind you, blind spots are massive because while there is glass here so you can see into the cabin area, there is just sheet metal on either side so you can't actually see that way. And the same kind of goes with the rear vision mirror. While it's there and you can see out the back, it's impeded by A, this grate here, and B, those barn doors opening at the rear. So opting for a regular tailgate would mean that there's more visibility.
So here we are at the back of the Volkswagen Caddy Cargo, where it has its best feature, and that is storage space. This entire back area is 3.1 cubic meters of space. Now, the length of it is 1.8 meters by 1.3 meters. It's an excellent space for storing all sorts of stuff, would be great for a small business. But Andy, what do you reckon about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's a van. It's a big enclosed space that you can put stuff in. Highlights that I've seen so far, it's got great tie down points. There's actually 6 in there, and I actually used all 6 when I tied down my washing machine before. One slight issue that I have found with it though is the fact that, I mean, this one here in completely base spec hasn't got any coverage over the floor. It's just exposed metal, which isn't great when you're moving stuff because you don't want to scratch up your brand new van. I've opted for one of these moving blanket, these heavy duty coverings to stop it scuffing the floor, but you can also opt for an optional wooden covering that, I mean, will make it look a lot nicer in here than having a blanket.
And it's also worth noting that with the Volkswagen Caddy Cargo, if you don't like the barn style doors at the back, you can get a powered lift up tailgate for $415.
As for what it costs to keep this cute little van on the road, Volkswagen Australia claims a combined fuel economy of 6.2 litres per 100 kilometres. During testing, we couldn't quite manage that and ended up with 8.2 litres per 100 kilometres. To be fair, there was a bit of sporty driving involved, but I don't know, it just seems a bit hard to reach what Volkswagen claims. Speaking of economy, this Caddy actually has the ability to use just 2-cylinder modes, which when at highway cruising speeds will obviously drop down to just running on 2 cylinders, which drastically improves efficiency. But it's also worth noting that it needs minimum 95 octane to run. So a care plan is actually available for this Caddy Cargo under Volkswagen Australia's service plan, meaning that it'll cost just $1,500 to keep it serviced for up to 5 years or 75,000 kilometres. It's worth noting that service intervals come every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres. The same goes for Volkswagen Australia's 5-year/unlimited kilometre warranty, which will cover this Caddy Cargo. So Zach, what are the specs of this Volkswagen Caddy Cargo?
So basically it's a 1.5 litre petrol engine that produces 84 kilowatts of power and 220 newton meters of torque.
I imagine it's turbocharged, right?
It is turbocharged.
Volkswagen fashion, yeah. And it doesn't exactly feel overly quick on the road, but I mean, that is not exactly something you'd expect from a cargo van. Some of the other diesel-powered vans, I mean, have oodles of torque. I'd say this isn't the case here, but I mean, I don't know about you, but it feels sufficient for really what it is.
It absolutely feels sufficient. I mean, we haven't loaded it up properly yet, but I think it would be fine for just day-to-day, small business use.
Absolutely. I mean, I got my washing machine in the back there. You can see it in the shot, and I mean, that's only imagine like what 80 kgs, and obviously that's going to make a difference, but it doesn't make a difference as you'd expect. So I mean, I'm happy with my hauling experience so far.
Yeah, it feels okay on the road, even with that little bit of load in the back.
It does. Yeah, I can't say I've noticed any sort of weight distribution changes with that, and I assume that's also to do with the fact that it's still within the wheelbase, so you wouldn't really feel any balance changes. But yeah, no, I'm happy with it so far.
How does it feel in the corners? We're just driving now as we are.
In the corners, I mean, the thing about the Caddy that I struggle with is a lot of people like to say that, it's basically a Golf, it drives like a Golf, but I don't know, call me a buzzkill, but I can't help but feel that this still feels like a van. It still feels like a very high, rigid van that doesn't feel overly dynamic to drive. I don't know, you had a go, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I feel like the sound deadening isn't very, it isn't as good as, say, the Caddy California, which we've both driven. It seems to be a little bit more unrefined, but you got to expect that from a commercial van. This isn't just a this isn't a people mover,
Yeah, interesting you mentioned refinement there, because yeah, there's no doubt that the sound deadening isn't there and it feels quite agricultural. But in saying that, this petrol engine up front still feels very refined, and paired with that 7-speed dual clutch transmission, I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking this is like the same powertrain that's in like a Golf, for instance, because it's just so smooth and easy to live with. And also, a nice little bonus there, this is actually the first press car that I've ever driven that you can actually hear the turbo blow off sound, which you should have seen the smile that it brought to my face when it first went off yesterday.
I got in it yesterday, and the first thing I thought was like, wow, this has got a blow off sound. That's very unique for a commercial van.
Absolutely, no, it's great fun. In terms of like the actual driving dynamics, the steering, it's light enough. I mean, there's not much feedback that gets translated through, and when you lose traction, which if you're driving with a bit of pace on a terrible day like this, you can't really feel a lot of it, which I mean it's a bit of a shame. But then again, I mean, this isn't exactly an enthusiast's car. Although I will say, short wheelbase Caddy, if you're a driving enthusiast of the Caddy variety, this will probably be the car for you.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So with the Volkswagen Caddy's transmission, look, it is pretty good. It does have a little bit of hesitation, just getting off the line, but other than that, it is a good gearbox. And with that extra torque too, you do find that it's great when you're getting onto the highway. You can get up to speed nice and quickly. You're not holding up traffic, which I think is really good. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the torque and the transmission, because in Volkswagen's bigger commercial products, like those big vans, and when they have that 2-litre turbocharged diesel with a lot of torque, they've actually gone to the torque converter transmission just to handle all the extra grunt. And it's interesting because this does have a bit of it, but it still uses a dual clutch, and I guess I'm not really a scientist or an engineer, so I don't know the exact pros and cons of what's going on here.
Yep.
But I can imagine when you're fully loaded up, taking off from the lights, potentially on an uphill incline, you might feel the hesitation might be quite evident. That's my only concern. I mean, you'll probably load this up, so you can report back.
I felt that it was a little bit jerky just in that initial sort of takeoff. And I mean, if it was loaded up in the back, you may find that there's wheel spin at the front. So there's less weight over the front, which then would lead to wheel spin. But on a day like today, that's probably going to be likely. In dry conditions, it would be fine. And it's also to note that this Caddy does come in other powertrains with more torquier diesel engines, if that's what you want. But for a standard Caddy Cargo, I think it's a pretty good package.
Absolutely, and if I can just contradict my point that I said before about this car being the enthusiast one, I think the enthusiast pick would be an orange Caddy, diesel, manual, short wheelbase. That's like the ultimate...
that is the ultimate spec.
That's the ultimate mountain road carver if you need to haul washing machines.
100%, yep. Yeah, and as you'll see later in the video, we are going to be moving house. Both of us are moving house on the same weekend. It's going to be interesting sharing the car and also trying to fit everything into this thing. I thought it was going to be bigger, but hey, we'll see how it goes. It's 9 o'clock. We're just about to start the packing of the van. This is how much space we've got. Let's see how we go. So there we have it, the first full load of the Volkswagen Caddy Cargo. Look, we've actually fit a surprising amount of stuff into the car. It's been pretty easy, and it's been really good having the little side door there as well to help pull things through. So we'll let you know on the other side how it goes unloading everything and see if we can fit the bed in later. So we're on to our second run. We've managed to fit both the washing machine and the fridge lying down in the back of the Caddy. Pretty impressive really, considering the Caddy is the smallest in the range. You may be wondering, this is a very funny looking Volkswagen Caddy. Well, it turns out it's Sunday now. We've moved a lot of the stuff yesterday, but now today we had to move the big stuff, the couch and all that other stuff that you need, your bed, etc. We've got it in there, but unfortunately the Volkswagen Caddy did not do the job as we wanted it to.
So as a whole, there are no two ways about it. This Volkswagen Caddy Cargo is a great van and a great option if you're a tradesperson or the owner of a small business, if you need to carry around like cakes or tools or things that those kind of people carry around. But let's be real, it's probably not the option if you're moving a whole apartment.
Exactly, and I found that it was really difficult to fit all my stuff in here. I couldn't fit my bed frame, or even my fridge in the back of the Caddy Cargo.
And they are three necessities in an apartment. So as a whole, this Caddy Cargo, it's been a fun van to drive. And let's be real, the words fun and van don't usually find themselves in the same sentence. So, I don't know, it's somewhat of an anomaly. That engine has enough grunt. That dual clutch transmission, it's good to use, it's smooth, but it does have the usual foibles of kind of moving around when you not really want it to, but that's just something that every dual clutch will do. But I don't know, I'm impressed. What do you think?
No, look, I had a lot of fun in it too, but look, it isn't perfect. This Caddy Cargo, I think it would be better as the Caddy Maxi, or even grab a transporter, especially if you want to move house.
Exactly, a lot of space. But that's just our experience. Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.